You don't like him?
Well, no, because the first time I met him, he invited me to sit down in a chair and said, okay, get up without my permission and I'll blast your ass so far through your head, it'll turn the moon cherry pie red. And while that is a fucking iconic line, it did kind of put me off. Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm a ghost person.
And this week, we round out our spooky season and go all in with Fallout New Vegas, Dead Money. Before we sit on a bomb and negotiate our group power dynamic, remember you can help us on Mortified Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
How you doing, cowpoke?
Been better, been worse. Been better, been worse. How are you?
Yeehaw, partner. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Sure. Have you been sipping on some sarsaparilla there?
Oh, just home on the range. It's been quite the month, but let me tell you, we picked a good one to end on, and I think that we're going to have a great time. Do you remember your first experience with the Fallout franchise?
Yeah, so I can't remember how I got into it. I can probably guarantee you it was like a Marty recommendation, but I started playing 3 my last year of college. I really liked it. I think New Vegas is my favorite. It gives me everything. It gives me melodrama. It gives me that guy from Friends playing Benny and saying things like, shake your cha-chas for the Ben Man if you choose to sleep with him and then kill him, which I did.
Excellent.
It gives me Casino. It gives me conflicted feelings about the aesthetic of Kaiser's Legion because they're slave owners, but God, I love that they're doing the Rome thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's me. In terms of Fallout, I did also play 4. I didn't like 4 very much, but that was just because I never really like it when franchises change direction in a really abrupt way, and 4 was a pretty big departure from New Vegas, so it's not that it was a bad game, it just wasn't what I expected. Yeah, that's me. How about you?
Yeah, I think I got into Fallout a little bit earlier than you. I started with 3, right when Bethesda did their big takeover and cranked out 3. And I, had a great time with it. I never really played 1 and 2. So, I never got the complaints that, Bethesda made a worse game. So, I was pretty happy with 3. I played New Vegas when it came out because I was like, oh man, I love Fallout 3. Gonna play some New Vegas. And I don't think this is an uncommon sentiment that New Vegas is like the best of the Fallout games, certainly of the modern Fallout games. And, there's a lot to love in New Vegas. Like you said, 4 was disappointment for a lot of us folks, and God knows nobody played 76, but like it's not that good either. Unfortunately, it's fine, but it's very much a schluter. But like, yeah, New Vegas was a great time, and I'm so glad we revisited it, especially because, as I found out, I had never played Dead Money.
Oh, really now?
No, because Fallout New Vegas is like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old game at this point. I have all the DLC. Never played any of the DLC, apparently, because when I was playing this game, I was like, man, I really like Dead Money, I think. And then I was like, oh, this is scary as shit. I've never played this game. And it ruled.
Yeah, it is kind of a tonal departure because I got them as, the PlayStation 3, like, greatest hits, the red packaging, the red strip. That's how it's good. It comes with all the DLC. I remember it was such a tonal shift for me because New Vegas is so goofy that all of a sudden you get in, you have a bomb collar around your neck. There's like discordant strings and a bell tolling and ghost people everywhere. It is spooky. It is spooky. And that's why I said, hey, Aaron, guess what we should do in the spooky season? Play this 11-year-old Fallout DLC, because for the last 6 years, if you're like, hey, what's like the scariest game you've played, as someone who only recently got into horror games, as in like in the last year, and even so, I haven't played them. I just watched John Wolfe play them because I'm a weenie. That's like an experience that really stuck with me.
Yeah. I mean, I basically never play horror games. In fact, the Fallout franchise is probably as close as I get to playing horror, with like the, fucking whatever engine they use where you talk to somebody and it zooms right up into their face. That's always scares the hell out of me. So like that didn't happen as much this time around, but I did definitely get spooked multiple times during this playthrough. It was pretty good. So, do you want to do a quick rundown of the plot of the Dead Money DLC?
Yeah, sure. So within the context of Fallout, you get this radio broadcast that talks about the Sierra Madre Casino and all the treasures buried within. And you, curious, money hungry, go to the Sierra Madre and you get knocked out by gas. And then all of a sudden, this hologram dude named Father Elijah is like, hey, you have a bomb collar on your neck, and you're going to help me break into this casino. And you're like, well, I fucking guess. And so you have to recruit 3 teammates. That is Dean Domino, that is Christine, and that is Dog and God, who are one person, sort of. And you have to get them to help you break into the Sierra Madre and take its treasure. And along the lines, and along the way, you find out kind of what happened between Vera Keys and Sinclair, who were the owners and the starlet of the casino. And then you have to get out.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. You are, an unwilling participant in a heist that, is against no one, and yet against somebody who's been dead for 200 years. And it's kind of great.
A spooky heist.
It's pretty spooky, and once we get through our characters, we'll talk about why it's so scary. But do you want to talk about Father Elijah? Do you have any thoughts on this guy who's coercing you into this heist?
Yeah, fuck the Brotherhood, but especially this guy.
Yeah.
I don't like the Brotherhood. They suck and they're boring. And Father Elijah is a crime boy who used to be in the Brotherhood and then left because he wanted to rob this casino, basically. And he's rude and a coward because he won't get down here and do it himself. He's gotten multiple people killed for his petty revenge. Also, he talks like a Redditor, and I fucking hate him.
He does definitely have that kind of loquacious vocabulary that drives me up a wall. Yeah, I mean, for context, the Brotherhood of Steel, if you know anything about Fallout, you know that the Brotherhood of Steel are the guys that wear the cool Fallout armor, the power armor that looks really, big and menacing, and they carry, like, the laser rifles. And, like, that's all very cool, but throughout, apparently I'm gonna, link to a series that I've been watching, which is Too Much Future by the people who do Range Touch, and I've been, watching them play through all the Fallout games, and, what I've learned from that is that, the Brotherhood of Steel is kind of shitty, and has been historically until like Fallout 3, when they're just like, do you want to help the weird, techno survivalists drive a cool robot? Okay. And then they just kind of like, lean very hard into the aesthetics, which, is a problem with 76 as well. But, yeah, the Brotherhood sucks, and they don't want to help anyone. They just want to hoard technology, and Father Elijah is like, yeah, I was okay with that until they wouldn't let me rob this place. So now I'm going to fucking kidnap people and put bomb collars on them in the name of creating a new techno-utopia. So he fucking sucks. I think he's a fine villain. I don't think that his motivations are especially novel. Just like everybody else in Fallout, they want to create an empire, and they want to do it with secret technology, and sure, whatever. But he's effective. He's a douchebag, and that's all you need is a cowardly douchebag being like, I can kill you at any time. Ha ha ha. Anyway, do this thing for me, pretty please. So, yeah.
Wow, I can't believe you give me a hard time about saying ooh woo every time I hop on our call, and then you hit me with pretty please. That is something.
Okay, I don't do that every time.
That's true.
Until now.
Until now. Now, every week he's going to find a way to sneak in a pretty please. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Dog and God?
I liked Dog and God. I thought they were really interesting. So for context, I was a very like speech heavy character. So like I never actually met Dog really. I only ever dealt with God, but basically, he is a big Nightkin / super mutant. But like basically, there are two personalities. There is Dog, who is like, what you think of as like a mindless brute, quote unquote, who, loves to eat meat and, does a lot of damage and is like a big tanky guy. And there's God, who is more of his other personality, which is like a weird kind of like control freak. He kind of talks like a sociopath. He's very strange and off-putting. But like I very much liked being able to talk with him, and God was constantly like threatening me like, hey, don't you because basically what you can do is you can play a sound recording, and that'll allow you to switch Dog and God's personalities. So you can control a Dog, and he's really good at fighting, but like that also makes God, who is the quote unquote smarter of the two, very upset with you. And through my playthrough, I was just like, well, I'm just gonna go with God because he seems like he's more reliable. But I thought it was very interesting the way that they set that up, being like, hey, yeah, actually, God locked Dog in the cage on his own, in order to negotiate and to draw Father Elijah out. I thought it was definitely a very interesting character.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I prefer Dog because so killing the ghost people, if you don't kill them really really good, they get back up and Dog will just eat them. So I also find Dog kind of relatable because he's always hungry, and y'all, I do a lot of hiking and walking around. Now that I got these rock hard calves, I am also always hungry, so I do find that deeply relatable. But my first instinct whenever I encounter a character like this is always to try to find the option to deprogram them and like give them choice. Did not succeed.
Oh no.
That's okay. But yeah, no, I do find him really interesting. I'm always kind of wary of portrayals of characters that have multiple personalities, but I don't feel like they were trying to draw a line to a disorder necessarily here. It was just like a facet of circumstance, which was extremely extraordinary. So it was totally fine. It wasn't fine, but it was whatever. I love Dog. I think he's great. I wish I could have maybe not.
We'll
let
find
him
out.
Die. Yep.
We'll talk about that in a bit. Ruh-roh. What are your thoughts on Christine?
I love her.
Christine rules.
I love her so much. She's smart, pretty, and good at stuff, and I love her.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we are introduced to Christine in like this old medical facility, essentially, and what they, she believes is that she got some sort of surgery. She was like kidnapped by Father Elijah, and she's ex-Brotherhood of Steel, I believe. And for whatever reason, she was trying to track down Father Elijah, got captured, and somehow her vocal cords were damaged.
Okay, I can fill in this gap for you. Dean Domino did that to her.
Yes, that's the reveal.
Yeah, so she was put in an autodoc by Dean Domino, who needed Vera's vocal cords to open some of the locks that are voice activated. The autodoc fucked up, and she was trapped in there for a while, and it fucked up her vocal cords, and so she cannot speak when you meet her because she's just been like getting surgeried in a tube for a while,
which is bad.
Yeah, that's why she doesn't want to go in the elevator. She's claustrophobic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also like a great detail. Like Christine is like, no, I'm not doing that. And there has been some criticism I've seen on the internet about Christine because like for the first half of the game she can't talk. And what happens is that she uses gestures to speak. And because of the way that the engine that Obsidian made this game with works, the characters are not especially emotive. Occasionally you'll get facial expressions, but like they're mostly just kind of like looking at somebody who's extremely bored most of the time. And like, you know, you can't have somebody move their arms around except for like shooting guns and, you know, opening doors and stuff. So all that motion comes through in text boxes. And, you know, some people think that wasn't great. I thought it was fine. You know, it didn't bother me too much. You can kind of get the gist that like, oh, okay, she's trying to gesture something. And if you read your options, you can kind of figure out what's going on. And I really liked that. Honestly, I thought it was very interesting to like have a character who can't just flat out tell you what they want. And I thought Christine was, you know, pretty great and had a lot of personality. Also, something that I found out later on, you know, Christine is the girlfriend of a companion character you can meet in Fallout New Vegas, which was very funny because that was the companion character I had right before going into this DLC. I don't know how I got Veronica to be my companion, but like apparently if you go back, you can play like a tape from Father Elijah for her and be like, hey, you know, this is what happened. But unfortunately, you can't be like, also, I did find your girlfriend, which sucks.
Yeah. The reason I don't really have any beef with the Christine's gestures having to be written out is because it's not like she's using sign language. Yeah. Like she's not somebody who was born and like into a system where she had to find a way to communicate that isn't vocalized.
Yeah.
She's literally just like playing charades with you to be like, you know, hey, by the way, our collars are linked. Mine has interference, so you can get closer to radios without exploding. Mm-hmm. And she has to find a way to like interpretive dance that at you because, again, she didn't have to learn ASL.
Get like ASL classes, yes, exactly.
Yeah, she's just literally gesturing. So I thought it was good, and if it was, I think if it was something like ASL, then having those, you know, having to read that and then missing something in the text would have been more frustrating than missing something in the text when she's literally just making up gestures as she goes.
Yeah.
Because if someone was gesturing at me because they had a sore throat or some shit, I will miss whatever the hell you're trying to tell me on the first attempt. Yeah. I miss things people say to me vocally on the first attempt. So I feel like it almost adds a layer of immersion if you're sitting there and reading it and going, what does her making a circle with her hands mean?
Yes, exactly. It's like, I'm confused and your character's confused. It's great.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, Christine rules. You know, and like Leyla was saying, you know, it turns out she, you know, Dean Domino tuned her voice to be the voice of a character that comes up later. And, you know, I think that's a neat detail. Just, you know, there's all sorts of like heist stuff where it's like, oh, you have to get past the voice activated, you know, password or whatever. And that's like a really cool way of doing it. So, speaking of Mr. Domino, Leyla, it seems like you love this little shit.
Okay. Yeah. He sucks so bad.
Such a dick.
He's such a dick, but he's got a lot of flair. So you know me. If you have flair, I tend to give you a pass on a lot of things. You don't like him?
Well, no, because the first time I met him, he invited me to sit down in a chair and said, okay, get up without my permission and I'll blast your ass so far through your head, it'll turn the moon cherry pie red. And while that is a fucking iconic line, it did kind of put me off. Kind of started our relationship out on the wrong foot with Mr. Domino.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was real funny.
It's very good.
I liked it a lot. Yeah, he sucks. He uses people, kidnaps people, puts them into surgery tubes, and then forgets about them. He's selfish and a drama queen. He must be a Scorpio. He just sucks shit, you know? And it's just, it's incredible. I think it's a great character. So I play she's a Black Widow, meaning she gets a lot more options with male characters because you can fuck him and kill him. And she's very like girl boss, and she's very she wants to run New Vegas. Like that's her whole shit. That's the character I play.
I see.
And so she hates Dean Domino.
Excellent.
But I couldn't pass the skill check that makes him listen to me, so I was his quote-unquote accomplice. And I imagine that frustrated my character very much, so I was rude to him at every turn.
Excellent. Perfect.
But I, the player, love him.
No, he's great, and it turns out he's like a very important person in all this. He actually used to be a big singer. He was going to open when the Sierra Madre Casino, did its grand debut. He and his partner Vera were going to do a big song and dance number or whatever. And he also was planning to enlisting Vera to help rob the casino, but it all went bad because of the nuclear war in Fallout. And he's interesting enough. I think that if he was just like a guy who was trying to rob a place like Ocean's 11 style, he would have been fine. But I do think that his like a whole shtick of being like a smarmy douchebag who is like largely unhelpful is very good and endearing. Like at the end of the boss battle when you're taking out Father Elijah, he's like, "Oh, let me play some music for you," which is really, really good. It's
and he puts on a tux for the heist, which I think is very funny.
Yeah, no, he's in character 100% of the time, and that's great. Would you have any thoughts about Sinclair and Vera Keyes?
Not really. I mean, the whole thing with them is like Vera was going to betray Sinclair until she was like, actually, I feel terrible about this and I love you. And then he tried to stop her from being locked in the vault forever. But then, as you said, the bombs went off. So that's the like backstory you get. And like Dean's very tied in with all of that. But yeah, I don't really have more than that.
Yeah. Sinclair is the guy who, made the casino. He's like, a typical rich man who's like, his whole thing is like wanting to create a new life and become like a big famous person out in the wasteland. And, but then all of a sudden, when Vera's betrayal is revealed to him, he decides to, install some traps to get Dean, to double cross Dean and to protect Vera from the oncoming nuclear holocaust that he believes is imminent and is imminent. Unfortunately, his plans all go awry, and he doesn't make it out either. But he's fine. He's a fine, tertiary character. And we'll talk about how Sinclair is implemented here, because if you have any experience in listening to games discussion over the past 10 years, you're gonna love this segment we have on environmental storytelling.
Yeah.
So, Leyla, walk me through your playthrough. How'd it go?
So my dirty little secret, as someone who grew up playing video games since I was a wee bab of 6, probably somewhere between 4 to 6 years old. I don't know, time's weird. And as somebody who is currently interviewing actively to be a game dev, I'm very bad at video games. I was real bad at them. I had to be Dean's accomplice. That was something that bruised my ego a little bit. Also, Christine, I recruited fine. I love Christine very, very much. I did deal more with Dog than God because I find God annoying. So try to deal with Dog a little bit more. And then, we got the heist. I got everyone what they needed. I activated the holograms for Dean. I bypassed the thing for Christine. Did whatever for Dog. We got in the casino. It was fine. Dog died.
Uh-oh.
Dog and God, I had to kill.
There's a sequence where you have to talk them down, and it went bad for you.
It did not go good for me. I did have to kill them dead. Very sad. There is apparently an ending where you can get them to unify, and then a new personality comes out. That's the ending I would have liked. Did not get. Dean also died. I failed the skill check. I failed the skill check, and he got really mad at me, and I had to kill him.
Oh no!
I restarted several times from a save point. Couldn't do it. He didn't like me.
Sorry.
Christine lived.
There we go. I got the important one.
They got the important one. My girl Christine lived, and I killed Father Elijah dead because fuck that guy. So that was my playthrough. How did yours go?
So it seems like mine went way better than yours. Full disclosure, listeners, I did use console commands to boost myself up to level 20, so I wasn't going in underleveled for this one. And my character's build was mainly energy weapons, the science, and speech, which helped out a lot, because if you've ever played a Fallout game, you know that if you get 100 speech, it's kind of a cheat code to be able to steamroll the entire game. And like in some instances that doesn't feel great, because it's just like, oh well, I could just choose the right speech option and it'll be fine. And that was largely the case in this one. But like also, I think it was still worthwhile to do all the speech options, and it was cool. But starting out with basically my gun skill was like 17. It was like nothing. And my melee weapon skill was like 13. Like I was just screwed, because you get one energy weapon, and this is the hollow rifle, and you can get some others throughout the game, but like that's the main one. So like the whole game I was like picking up those shitty little javelin spears and just like hiding behind my companions and throwing the shitty little spears for like 5 minutes until I killed the ghost people.
They're hard.
They're fucking tough. Not only because they have a lot of hit points, but also like Leyla said, if you walk over to them and you haven't like dismembered them or shot them in the head, they will stand back up and kill you again. And the first time that happened, I was very scared. I did not expect that to happen. I was like, man, wouldn't it be crazy if they just, oh, fuck, no,
It's the worst when they do it behind you.
Yeah, exactly. Horrible, miserable. It was great though. I managed to get through the heist because of my high speech skill with everybody intact. I talked God and Dog down, and I was like, hey, I also play like a very much like a goody two shoes, like highest morality possible for as many people as possible, except for the Legion, because one great thing about Fallout New Vegas is you can go to the Legion's base and murder everyone, including Caesar, and the game keeps going, which fucking owns. So I had just been doing that in my playthrough before I switched back over, I was like, okay, I want to do the best thing possible, which is like make sure that Dog and God get out okay. And I convinced them to unify, like you said. And, they didn't remember me. They're like, I don't know who you are. I don't know where I am, but I feel like I, owe you something. I feel like I should be gracious towards you. So thank you, stranger. I'm going to dip. So he doesn't show up during the final battle. I talked to Dean Domino, and I was like, okay, listen, I'm going to help you like kill Elijah or whatever. And he was like, okay, sounds good. And, Christine had the most dialogue, but I was like very much like, hey, Christine, how about you just like wait at the top of the elevator? If Father Elijah comes up, you can shoot him, but otherwise you got to trust me to do it. You can do that, and you can finish Father Domino off like that. In the end, Christine like helps, there's like some turrets in that final boss room. She deactivates those turrets, and Dean Domino, he does play some music, which is annoying, but he also, he's like, hey, I turned off your bomb collars, or like, made it easier for you to work around the bomb collar or whatever. It doesn't really matter. He's not very helpful. And like in the final thing with Elijah, the thing that kind of frustrated me was that, we'll get to this later, but like I basically went through Father Elijah's final dialogue options like several times because of how the game ends. Needless to say, I did a couple reloads, but it was fine. It was basically like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever, dude. Do you want to come down here and we could talk about this? And then of course he hides behind the barriers, and then makes you come and fight him and kill them. Apparently there's an option to lock him inside the vault. I didn't know how to figure that out, but that would have been cool as hell if I just locked him back inside the vault. That was great. But yeah, had a pretty good playthrough. Great time at the Sierra Madre. 10/10 would not return.
10/10, once in a lifetime experience. Good after the once. Thank you very much. Yeah. So you have here talking about the memorable moments of your playthrough. We did talk about the ghost person. That is spooky. What else you got?
Yeah, so there's a couple moments that I thought were really spectacular. Besides the stuff that you're going to talk about, there's one bit, where you can, where I convinced God to like not try to kill me and to be cool. And like just like it didn't even require a speech check. It just required me like going through and choosing the right dialogue options. And I thought that was really neat. You know, I do love games that give you that kind of that level of like dialogue and like that, you know, that's why I think tabletops are so interesting, because like you can just like play out that conversation, and you know, maybe you don't even need to make a speech check if your player like in character is like, hey, I'm making a good argument. So that I thought that was great. Probably my favorite bit. So there's a point where you have to like, you know, you have to trigger the thing that opens the gates to the Sierra Madre, and you have to get everybody in position. And there's like this switchyard zone. So I'm like trying to find, you know, navigate through this location and find the switchyard. And like somebody has drawn little arrows on the walls that look like they're going to where, you know, where you're supposed to go. And I was like, oh, okay, sweet, neat. I'm going to follow them. And I follow these arrows, and I, you know, go across the rooftops, and, you know, if there's a couple ghost people there, and I, you know, manage to dispatch them well enough. And then there's a point where there's one arrow that points into like this like control room that's overlooking part of the complex. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll go there. There's a computer there. I could probably turn off the, you know, the radios that are interfering with my collar real quick, and I'll do that. So I go to that, you know, I hack into the computer, turn off the speaker, and it's all fine. I look to my left, and I see there's scrawled on the wall, "Treasure's mine, assholes." And at that moment, I realize I've tripped a tripwire, and a bomb goes off and kills me instantly. And I was like, oh, that rules, actually. That owns. Because, like, completely emergent, you know, completely just like tricking you into doing that. And I was just so thrilled by that. You know, it took me several more tries to actually figure out how to get around that. But that first moment was just incredible, because that was wholly just like the game's like, you know, details pointing you to something. You know, there were no mechanics besides just like the details you picked up just like playing it. And I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah, that's, oh my god, I can't remember if I ever stumbled on that or not, but that fucking rules. Yeah, for me, it's definitely just like getting to the Sierra Madre, that atmospheric shift from just goof shit New Vegas to the Sierra Madre and being in the villa and the red clouds of smoke, and that the sound design for this portion is just fucking tacular.
It's bone chilling. It's so creepy. I love it.
It's so good. It's honestly just like, if you just go YouTube, just part one of a playthrough, absolutely fantastic. Just that tolling is bone chilling, and you're afraid to move because you don't have any of your shit. You just have this one rifle and these really tough enemies, and you're like, god damn, I am not prepared for this. So it's really great. I love that shit. And then honestly, for me, it's like also the first Ghost Harvester. I knew it was going to get back up, and it still scared the shit out of me. And, you know, my builds, I tried a melee build at first in New Vegas, and then I switched over back to just a regular. I tried not to do another sniper build. I always end up doing sniper builds.
They're so easy.
They're so easy, and I love doing headshots. So I just tried. Yeah. They feel fantastic. Skyrim, too. You know, you do that stealth archer shit. Chef's kiss. But I really tried to do a melee build and then a gun build, which, as you noted, doesn't work. In the beginning of this one,
because you got a shitty little police pistol that has 6 shots that you have to reload after every time, and it's awful.
It truly challenges you. So yeah, it honestly, like, just the gameplay of this and the way it's structured and that opening in the villa, and then watching the Sierra Madre Gala and watching it light up, because basically, like, you can see the casino itself towering over the skyline of the villa, especially when you enter. It's like right above the fountain, and it's an impressive structure. It's tall, but once the spotlight starts shining on it and you hear all the commotion like far away from the villa happening, it's really cool. It's such a neatly designed DLC. I love it very, very much.
It's definitely a special DLC, and I'm really glad we played it. There were some things that I didn't love, namely the explosive collar / radio stuff. So like Leyla was saying, you know, you have this collar on your neck that explodes. And the first couple times I thought that was really good. You know, the first time I was like, okay, you know, rescuing Dog God, you know, I was like wandering around the thing. I didn't realize you could turn off the radios to stop the collar. And like, I was like, what's going on? Boom, your head explodes. Like, okay, this game is committed to the bit of like, you will die. and you will lose all your progress if you haven't saved smartly. And I think that is to its benefit largely, but like especially at the final mission, like trying to get to the part like inside the vault, there's just like a series of radios and like hologram guards that really ticked me off, and I had to like stop playing and come back the next day and be like, okay, I figured it out, because like it was just like bashing my head against a wall, just like getting killed and getting my head blown up. Also, there is one suite in particular that I think is really cool at first, but kind of grates on you after a while, and it's like Vera's hologram suite. You have to like move through this suite where it has recorded Vera Keys' like last moments in it in a hologram, and at first it's really cool because like you hear this like voice being like, Sinclair, why, I'm sorry, and like begging to be let out, and she's like, I'm gonna die here among the ghosts, but like because you have to sneak around and like be in that audio for me it was like 15 minutes. It started to get old really fast. I was like, okay, this is no longer creepy and weird. Now it's just like, okay, I get it. You're gonna die here among the ghosts. Sorry, Vera. Which I wish that they had deployed that a little bit more, judiciously. And then just lastly, like I had said, because there is a sequence where you have to escape the vault of the Sierra Madre at the very end, or your bomb collar will go off, you have to like make a sprint all the way back up through like some of the tunnels that you came through. And if you've played a Fallout game, there's a bunch of like weird stairs and like overhanging bridges like through a factory kind of complex thing, and it's when you were running through that, it is a pain in the ass, and it took me like maybe 4 or 5 times before I finally got it. But like I do hate that when it's like the final mission of a game and you're trying to hit like a very climactic moment, but it kills you and sends you back. It's like, okay, I'm trying to finish the narrative here. So like I didn't love that, but then again, you have to commend it. It sticks to the bit. It's like, hey, if you don't do it, your collar's gonna go off. Sorry. And it remains committed to that through the whole time, and I have to commend it for that.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you for all those things. The redundant dialogue is truly just like a mark of, I was going to say just Obsidian era Fallout, but no, Fallout 4 does that as well when Bethesda fully took control of the IP. And that's just an engine thing where you have to kind of just go back through dialogue a bunch and it's fine. But if you're like me and stupid, sometimes you have to do it a bunch, or if you die. So yeah, it's sometimes it's a little bit grating, and avoiding the holograms. Now see, avoiding the holograms, your girl was trained pretty good by Dishonored.
Okay, see, you played stealth games before.
Oh, fuck yeah. Me and Dishonored were good. I'm a ghost, baby. I have that achievement. I didn't get spotted once. So yeah, I was doing okay there. But yeah, I agree with you with those things. Those are just a little hiccups. But honestly, like, yeah, like we should acknowledge those are hiccups. But this, I don't know. I love this DLC so much. I think it's so spectacular that it's just like, I don't know. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I wouldn't I don't know that I would do it again necessarily, but like I do think that this was definitely a singular moment. Like it just, the way it subverts all of the stuff you've built up from like the console Fallout games. Like it takes all your shit away. So like, it's very much a survival horror in that like, you have limited resources, but like you're also, very slowly accumulating the special Sierra Madre chips, which you can exchange at the vending machines for, like a small amount of guns, or like the shitty little, bubble gums, or like Blamco mac and cheeses that give you like 2 health, but it's like, I've got to do something. Like you can't rest. The primary way you heal in Fallout is by going to sleep. You can't sleep here. You have to use stim packs. And I thought that was also brilliant. Like, it's like, okay, we're fucking in it now. It was much harder than, any other Fallout. It gave me my one energy weapon, which was in shitty condition and like barely any ammo. I was like, well, good luck. I loved that. And I love just how like you could like turn, if you paid attention and like slowly collected stuff, you could like start turning in like cartons of cigarettes or like old like suits to start getting extra money. And I was like, okay, that's really neat. Like there are ways to game the system, and like if you're being really careful, you can start getting enough money in stim packs. And like by the end, I had like 30 stim packs, and I was like, okay, I'm fine. But like I like that it forces you out of that state of abundance that you kind of feel comfortable in Fallout. And it's a really good DLC, and just playing it, I think I'm probably going to go through and play all the other Fallout New Vegas DLCs, because it's like, apparently I haven't played them. I should probably play them if this one was this good. So
I'm very excited to hear your reviews of a couple of those, because they are wild.
yeah, they lay all these like hints for like new stuff, like the big MT and like the second courier, and I'm just so curious about what that is.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really great segue into the environmental storytelling stuff we wanted to talk about. This was definitely an era of making games. I think Dishonored specifically gets a lot of shit for like really blatant graffiti. There's some of that in here too.
There's a lot of that in here.
But you know what? Again, I've brought up the COVID 1984 bridge before, baby. I can no longer criticize, because you know what? People will do the most ham-handed shit you can think that they do.
Yeah, I mean, like every day I drive home from work and somebody has spray painted like our local police department does ice holds on a wall, and it's just been there for a year, or like rent strike April 2020, and it was just like, I don't know if that's maybe like video games have somehow influenced the way that people make graffiti, which I think would be very funny, but I don't think is true. But like, yeah, there are very egregious examples. Like there's one where like one of the parts of the villa is locked off, and it just has the word escape with a big X drawn over it. It's like, all right, okay. One of my favorite things is like, I remember reading an article about ancient Roman graffiti and how it's like dicks and like Alexius was here and like I fucked your mom, So people always been people. They always been like that. And I just, every time I look at like video game graffiti, I think about that too. And there was, I brought up John Wolfe earlier. He just did a playthrough. He does horror game playthroughs and commentary on YouTube, and I really like his videos. I think they're good. But he just did a playthrough of a game called Poppy Playtime, and not only is there graffiti like that all over the walls, but it's in 3 different paint colors. And he points out, he's like, this motherfucker would have had to come through with a yellow bucket, a red bucket, a blue bucket, and then like drawn arrows and pointed everywhere, and it said the same shit, like no escape, and whatever the fuck, horror graffiti. Yeah.
I love an aesthetic. I love melodrama. I love just like funny, dumb stuff. So, like, as a taste thing, I really don't mind, escape with an X through it. I never think I think just because of, I don't know. We kind of grew up in similar towns in the Rust Belt Midwest where, people graffiti wild shit all the time. But I don't know, maybe it's just that like Midwest perspective of whatever comes in your head, you're gonna get a bottle of spray paint about it and put it on the nearest overpass. Maybe I'm just indoctrinated, but
no. For a long time in my life, there was a stencil of Barack Obama on a bridge, like underneath a bridge that I went through every day to school, and then like somebody would paint like liar under it, and then somebody would go through and like mark out the liar, and then like it would just like this graffiti war would go on for years. It was really funny.
Yeah, we had a shack on my university campus that's been painted over since I've been there, but it used to say "Make moves, son," and then someone in my program ruined it and put "Make movies, son," and then it got painted over. And I'm of the firm belief that if they had just left the "Make moves" shack alone, the fucking facilities would have kept ignoring it. But no. And then I think it got painted over, and then I think that someone else came and then repainted "Make Moves, son" on top of it. It was a whole thing.
Yes, excellent.
I haven't been on campus in several years, so I can't tell you if it's still there, but the iconic little shack.
Incredible. Perfect. Yeah, but I think, I try to read a decent amount of video game criticism, and like, there was a big backlash to environmental storytelling like this in, the mid 2010s. But like you said, like I really, maybe it's just because I'm not a video game critic and I don't play that many games anymore. But like, I think it's fine. Like I was saying with the arrows, like if you do environmental storytelling in a, a way that you think is interesting, it's not just like skeletons in the toilet. Like, I think Fallout has some very interesting stuff going on. I think it's cool, and I think we're pro over the top environmental storytelling here in Mortified. Sometimes I just need a big fucking neon sign, or like you said, a big graffiti. sign that says no escape.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the strengths of the environmental storytelling in Fallout is always the computers, when you can break into them. I love reading just like a petty coworker fight in Fallout. It makes me real happy.
There's just one in this one that I didn't actually pick up on, but do you know how the ghost people like occurred? Like who they are? So I didn't pick this up, but like if you are reading through those computer files, it'll tell you like, okay, yeah, they got these new suits to protect us from the cloud, but people are still not loving it, and like as it goes on and on, they realize like oh, these suits are getting stuck. And it turns out the ghost people are people who are stuck in those suits, who are the original working on the villa, and have just like been trapped there and corrupted by the cloud.
Wow. Yeah, see, it's like stuff like that. It's so neat. But I also love, I can't remember which Fallout it was in, but I swear to God, like every time we walk into a factory, there's always, you can hack into some emails. It's like, God, this fucking dumbass on the fucking floor. If he gets into my email one more time, it'll like get sent to the wrong person, and you could trace this coworker melodrama around several computers. As a connoisseur of fighting on Facebook groups, that shit thrills me.
Incredible. Yeah, no, it's a good time. Fallout is good, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. I do love it. I think it makes me want to do another playthrough of like the whole game.
Listen, Mortified listeners, if you want to help us launch a Let's Play series on YouTube and Twitch, please let us know. We will probably not do that, but
yeah, Leyla and Aaron play Fallout as a slut and a nerd. See how those two playthroughs progress.
It'll be great. Yeah, do you want to do a marketing minute? Like, I don't know how you would want to frame it, but like maybe.
I think it needs to be, listen, I don't have a suggestion so much as just like the definitively correct answer, which is to say we put up a bunch of billboards in Vegas for like a special new casino experience that's like a spirit Halloween, like it only pops up on Halloween, and then you just take over and you soup people up and do ghost people. And then when people go in, here's how you got to do it. You got to trick them, right? You got to make sure that at first they're playing the games with their chips, like they've paid in. You get chips. You're like playing. I don't know what casino games are. My father was a gambler, so I don't go near them. So
blackjack,
and
roulette.
And then you bring out the spooky ghost people and the holograms and shit, and someone dressed up as Dean Domino, and then they leave their chips, and then you take their money and you fucking run.
So this isn't really a reboot of Fallout.
Oh, no, it's a
Dead
scam.
Money. This is just stealing from people in a scary way, which is very good.
It's a seasonal scam, is what it is.
I'm not mad. I think that's good. That's a good idea.
Great.
That's our mortified marketing minute. You know what? You haven't paid us legitimately, so now we're just gonna start robbing people. What's up?
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, that's why we have to gatekeep this experience to, like, double-digit millionaires and more, because I would feel bad stealing from, like, your Aunt Nancy out to have a good time in Vegas. Mm-hmm. I would not feel bad stealing from anybody making that kind of money, so...
Absolutely not.
Bring it on.
God. Well, listeners... Leyla, rather, when we are not trying to figure out how to steal from people who are too rich, which is all the time... where can people find us on the internet?
I'm at LEYLSES on Twitter and Tumblr. I just moved all of my essays over to Ko-fi, so you can go and subscribe there. It's kofi.com/Lailses, LEYLSES, and the essays are not paywalled. It's just a handier platform that is not as public as Medium. If you want to throw me a tip, I always appreciate it. Tip me for my bad takes. Aaron, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at AaronSXL, where I talk about tabletop RPGs and public health policy. You can listen to the other podcast I do at The Bible Boys, I think. Pretty sure it's that one. We are rounding up our spooky season. We'll be watching The Conjuring 2 on Wednesday, and then we'll probably do a Midnight Mass conversation the week after, and that'll be it. I also release tabletop RPGs. You can get my latest release, I Adjure You Ancient Serpent, which runs on the Caltrop core and is just like a playthrough an exorcism game with your friends. I'll put a link to it, but it's free. It's pay what you want, but that means free. Let me know if you play it. I think it's neat. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. Find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how do we want to close this one?
Well, Aaron, I got a story to tell you. You've heard of the Sierra Madre Casino. We all have. The legend, the curses. Some foolishness about it lying in the middle of a city of dead. A city of ghosts. Buried beneath a blood-red cloud, a bright, shining monument, luring treasure hunters to their doom. An illusion that you can begin again, change your fortunes. Finding it, though, that's not the hard part. It's letting go.
It's letting go. We'll see you all next week, listeners.